how to 3x your effectiveness in the studio using this one single workflow hack. In the next 10 minutes, I'm going to give you a simple workflow that will make it a lot easier to develop ideas beyond a loop and make it effortless for you to really just get things moving forward and get some ideas, turning into compositions, etc. Hey yo, it's Alex from My Music. I'm a musician and certified audio engineer here to help you finish music that you love. I help music artists compose, produce, and mix their own professional sounding tracks by using and leveraging a repeatable creative process, which we're going to talk about a little bit more. And in every single video, you're going to get actionable advice that you can immediately implement to help you level up as a music creator. So again, just give me 10 minutes. I'll show you a really cool workflow that will make it effortless to develop your ideas farther and never get stuck in a loop again. Okay, so let's break it down. We are talking about the third stage of my system, which I'll show you right now. It's called extract. And it's summarized in this quote that is the best way to have good ideas is to have a lot of ideas. And I've talked to many musicians, many producers of all types, all genres. And one of the most common problems people come against is getting stuck in a loop or getting stuck in the arrangement and really just like scratching their heads as to where to go. And often we stop ourselves in the process of creating and exploring for the reason of converging to a specific outcome, like finishing a track, before we've given ourselves the opportunity to experiment and play and explore our ideas farther. And usually it's through that active exploration, active engagement in which those answers become clear as to what needs to happen to these ideas, your composition, etc. Okay, so the focus here is still divergent thinking, and it's coming from the wake of, hey, you probably have an idea or a loop or something, right? And we're still like in the brainstorming headspace, right? Divergent thinking, it's called, where you're simply exploring, right? You're brainstorming possibilities as opposed to solving a particular problem or going for a specific outcome, right? It's like yes and, right? Like what else? Yes, let's explore more. And basically at this stage, you want to like hopefully be using an idea that you're stoked about or that is above average, right? And then from there, you want to just experiment and explore and expand those ideas farther and discover like what this track is about, what the different sections could be, what B section could be, different parts, etc. Okay. And again, the focus is creating variations, simplifying, complicating, building, destroying, allowing new insights, and possibilities to emerge. Okay. So if you want this template and all the action items for how to do this stage, just comment down below. Happy to share it with you. But I just want to talk about a really powerful idea between stage 2 of the system and stage 3, which is flow and extract. And it's this idea of seeds and stems. All right. So if we think about gardening, right, like we're going to be planting seeds and a certain amount of those seeds are going to take root and other ones might not. And that's perfectly natural. It's like a universal thing in nature that, hey, not everything takes root and grows, and that's okay. Right. And that's kind of what flow is like you're just planting a bunch of seeds and allowing the ones that want to grow, the ones that have potential, the ones that resonate with you to simply just show themselves to you instead of forcing yourself to try and create something good. It'll just happen if you engage with the creative act. And then from there, we have ideas that we're kind of stoked about or that are interesting. We want to kind of play with them some more, like I just said. And the key here is that if you stick with the seed and plant analogy, is that the seed contains all of the information for the whole plant. Okay, so all of basically the genetics and like the information and what the plant has to do to grow is built within the seed, right? So, it has the DNA for what it needs to move forward. And it's the same with music. So I'm going to hop into Ableton here and we're going to look at how like a simple loop and a few ideas have the seeds for many ideas within it, which makes it a lot easier to think about because you don't have to pressure yourself to create something new. Is you can take what exists and play with it to see where it takes you. And usually that will lead you somewhere new. Okay. So let's take a look at how to do that. And then we'll talk about a few tools that we can do and a few tools that we can leverage in the DAW to make it happen. Okay. So I'm gonna go back to my screen over here. Let's hop over into Ableton. And I just got this super basic loop here going. Nothing special, but I'll give you a taste. vibe, right? But let's say you got this and you're like, cool, I have a loop, now what, right? And a lot of people will get stuck here and they'll just be like, I don't know what to do. They might play with something, they might like it, not like it, get stuck, and then go ahead and start something else. But instead of like pressuring yourself into being like, where is this going to go? Let's just leverage what already exists, right? So for example, if I look at this drum beat, I'll open this up and we'll go ahead and just pop over here. One sec. There we go. Grab this guy. Okay. And I'm actually going to solo this track. So we have this drum beat here, right? With a few layers because I jammed it out. And one thing that I want to highlight is that within this drum beat are different components, right? We have this tom, we have a clap, we have kick, snare, all this stuff. I'm just going to hit these headphones so we can hear it. And what we can do is make a bunch of duplicates of this. So I'm just going to duplicate this a few times. And in this duplicate, hey, maybe we remove the tom and we remove the claps, and maybe we just keep the kick and the hi-hat. So now we have this variation. Cool, right? So maybe over here, we do something different where we just keep the tom and the kick, right? So let's, disable the rest. And now we have this variation. Cool. Let's go over here. And maybe this time we keep the claps, right? Keep this, maybe remove the tom, remove the kick this time. And now, yeah, let's just have the hi-hat and the snare. And then for this last one, yeah, let's just go with maybe just the snare or the clap, right? So, let's put it back on. So just like that, right? Now I've broken down this beat into its components, which emphasize different parts of this whole drum beat, right? Like if I just go through these drum beats, you might start to hear different rhythms and different ideas come into your mind just by breaking something into its components parts, right? So here's our first groove. Go to our second one. Third one. Fourth one. So on and so forth, right? So now that we've expanded this idea into its components, we can mix and match it with other things, which took little to no effort. And you can do this with all of your ideas. Okay. And we haven't even changed anything. All we've done is remove things from a maybe more busy or complete part in itself. Right. So if I go over here, let's go to these chords, and I actually played these with a sustain pedal, but I let go and it didn't record the sustain. So it's just super staccato, but I have these chords, right? Let's go ahead and unsolo this. Okay, so maybe drag this down, just play the drums and the keyboard for now. Right? So an easy variation you could do for this, right? So some cool chords is that I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this guy a bunch of times again. And in this first duplicate, just select everything and sustain the notes or staccato the notes, right? So now we have lengthier notes. Let's bring this up, right? And again, I'm not super concerned about it being great at this point. I just want to create the conditions so that I can start expanding my ideas. So maybe something like this. Let's play it. Different drum beat. Right, so maybe this other duplicate, right? Let's maybe take the duplicate that we just created with the longer held notes, right? Then this is an Ableton specific thing, right? But I'm sure you can find a bunch of different options in whatever DAW you use. But for this case, like we can use some of the MIDI transformation tools in Ableton and leverage that to see what can happen, right? So for example, let's go to transform. Arpeggiate's cool. And what's really awesome about this is you can do it for different selections. So maybe just for this one, right? We want to arpeggiate this. Let's go up multiple steps, right? Sure. Let's go with that. Let's see what happens. let's play the variation. Right? And maybe that's something we want. Maybe that's something we don't want. Right? And we could lock this to a scale. We could simplify it, right? But let's see what's up. Like, let's arpeggiate this up. Right? So you could get some wild variations, but maybe we didn't want something like that. So just gonna redo that. There we go. Right, so maybe we focus in here, right? And we want to arpeggiate this. And maybe lower the distance. So it's just arpeggiating it. Right, so you can get wacky variations. Maybe you want it less extreme, maybe something like this, and you can start to see different ways to play this idea. Right, something like this. Right, maybe we do the same type of thing here. Maybe something similar over here, right? And again, just with the goal of exploration, maybe something crazy. Right? So sky's the limit with this. But again, this is just one variation. Cool. Maybe we dig this, maybe we don't, but we could just duplicate this one over here once again, right? And continue with this process and start to mix and match it, right? And all we're doing is leveraging tools that are in our DAW. But again, you can do simple things like inversions, where we take the bottom note, put it on the top, take this note, put it down. Maybe we remove this, simplify it, right? Only make it 2 chords. Maybe like this chord and this guy, right? So remove these, simplify it. Again, I'm not really creating anything new. I am just leveraging what already exists, right? And then maybe we do some inversion, right? So maybe pop this guy up an octave and pop this guy down. So just like this, now we're gonna have some more crunchy voicings. Right? Maybe we throw in these other layers. Go back to our full drum beat. And then let's go back over here. So notice how you can start to get the flow, and maybe, hey, this combination of things could be a B section, and that will then inform you to like, okay, maybe we can actually write new parts or change parts to fit with each other. But the key is that it avoids you getting stuck, right? Like, and it avoids you listening to a loop over and over and over and over and over and just stacking layers. And it kind of forces you to simplify things and break it down into its component parts and play around with your ideas at lower levels of complexity, right? So yeah, that's what I would encourage you to do. Again, if you want the checklist for how to go about doing this, there's a zillion different ways you can go about developing and exploring and experimenting with your ideas. But it is such a crucial step, because if you take the time to do this, it's low pressure, it's chill, you get to have fun, explore your tools, etc. And then from there, you can just watch and see what songs kind of emerge from this process instead of putting too much pressure on yourself. All right, so that's what I got for you today.